Hello and welcome to VR Reviews. Today we'll be reviewing a bootleg of the second X Minase Shizue. So yes, here we have another bootleg review. Don't know why I've had so many of those recently, but that's what's happening. And this is a bootleg of something that I reviewed quite a while back, the second X Minase Shizue, and I bought this just entirely out of curiosity. Because the original of this figure is very expensive, and this bootleg is about $25. So I was curious as to how big of a downgrade in quality it is and whether it was worth picking up for people that don't want to spend $120 on the original figure, or whatever the current aftermarket price is, which I'm sure is much higher. And the quality is fine. I would say it's within standard sort of bootleg parameters. I would say she's probably worth $25 if this is a design that appeals to you, but you don't want to spend the ludicrous amounts of money that the real one costs. But it is certainly a much lower quality than the actual figure. Comparing the bootleg to the original, as you would imagine, they look fairly similar. The bootleg does seem to be slightly smaller. I assume that comes from the recasting process. But the sculpt is all basically the same. The colors are pretty similar. The skin tone seems about the same. The gradient of purple to black on her purple and black gear is not nearly as subtle on the bootleg as it is on the original. And some of the colors don't match up quite the same. But overall, color-wise, she looks fine. And the body in general is perfectly tolerable. The main thing that I notice as a difference between the two is the hair. The hair on the real one looks way, way better. The gradient's really nice and it's really smooth. And the molding on the bootleg's hair is really rough. It's got a lot of rough spots in it, and the coloring of it is not nearly as well done. I'd say the hair is easily the worst executed part of the bootleg. Another thing in the head area is that her eye decals are much shinier and more pronounced looking than they are on the real figure. That's not even necessarily a negative. I'd say that's more of a personal taste kind of thing, but I do prefer the ones on the original. Apart from that, though, I think it looks fairly decent, and from far away you can't really tell the hair so much, but it is very, very noticeable up close. We'll do a quick 360 spin since I basically just talked about what she looks like. She's got on her purple and black bondage gear, big brown stockings with little frilly bits on the top, and the rest of her is flesh-colored, and overall she looks perfectly fine. A few minor paint faults here and there, but nothing that's just going to pop out at you if you're not looking for it. Head sculpt-wise, I've already talked about the hair a lot, so let's just go ahead and look at all the different faces. You get a standard smiling face, a looking off to the side face, a looking off to the side face with the mouth slightly open, a sort of surprised kind of face, a wincing face, and her ahagao face, or however you say that word. All of them look fairly decent. There's a bit of paint flaws here and there, and I've already mentioned the eye decals, but they're all passable. Articulation-wise, you get the same thing that you would get with the original figure, and all the joints feel fairly sturdy. Ball peg in the head and neck, so you get some decent range of motion there. Shoulders move in and out, forward and back. Rotate around in the socket a little bit. Single joint in the elbow, but it does get full range of motion. Hinge and rotation in the wrist. Get ball pegs in the chest and waist, you get some decent body movement. Hips move in and out, forward and back, rotate around on the joint. She has a thigh cut and a joint that I never noticed before on the original one. She has these weird, like, big ball pegs where her stocking attaches to her leg, so you can actually move her hip around there. It's an interesting joint, not something I can recall seeing on any other figures before, but you might make some use out of that. Big, weird, double-jointed knees, hinge and rotation in the ankles, and a little toe joint, so you can get her into plenty of poses, just like the real one. Accessories-wise, of course, you get several sets of hands. You get 2 fist hands, 2 peace sign hands, 2 holding hands with the pinky extended, 2 flat palm hands, and 2 groping hands. The fingernails on all of them are painted, and they have a bit of shading, which is a bit erratic on some of the sets, but they mostly look fine. Then you get her 2 little magnetic nipple coverings, and you get 3 sets of breasts, which I will have to censor for YouTube purposes. But you get 1 set with inverted nipples, which is the only set that the magnetic tassels will attach to. A set with erect nipples, and a set of hanging breasts that actually have little ball pegs in them, so those are the only ones that properly articulate. The other ones can rotate slightly, but not very much. The paint on all these is fine. I know you can't see it, but you'll have to just take my word for it that they look fine, and they look about the same as the original ones do. And lastly, you get a foot peg base, which you don't need for her to stand up, but it is helpful, and she's got heels, so sometimes she can be a bit difficult to balance. Packaging wise, you get the big plain blue and green gradient box with the flowers all over it. It says Second X Minase Shizue on the front. It looks pretty much exactly like the real box does. And it's got all the logos and warning label stuff on the back. I didn't like the packaging the first time around because it's really boring. I still don't like it. You can use it to keep the figure in though, so it works for that. And that pretty much wraps us up. So until next time, goodbye! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my content, feel free to subscribe and click that little bell thing. I've been told that does something or other. You can also give me money to buy toys at patreon.com/vrreviews, see pictures of toys at instagram.com/vrreviews, or see tweets about toys at venomraptor09 on Twitter. And I would greatly appreciate you doing any of those things.